The next item on the agenda is item E, consideration of water treatment options. You have handout, the printout in your...
Previously, you received in your handout, and we discussed this issue last time about how we would possibly deal with the issue of where there was a discussion on how we might be able to treat to resolve the red water issue. Now, Jim, anytime you want to jump in, feel free. You were the ones that met with DNR. But my understanding is that the process that's being offered is there's two options that we could use with this process. One would be a full system flush. And what a full system flush would require is that it would require us to drain the water tower and to start trying to reach an equilibrium of our total chlorine and our, I'm sorry, free chlorine. And that once that's reached, then we would go through a process of flushing hydrants in town, and that it would work through the whole system. The project, based upon the estimates we have, would roughly be $750 to $1,000 to do that project. This is that's taking into consideration some overtime and the cost of some of the other things that need to be done.
And some of the problems that it can cause is there may be some taste and odor problems throughout the whole town. We will probably do it for at least a 2-week period to make sure we get a good kill on the bacteria. We will continue to test throughout the whole time to make sure that the chlorine is kept up to where it should be. They're doing it right now in another community, and it seems to be working very well. So hopefully, to me, this will be our best option.
This option also requires us to do a notification of everyone in the water system so that they are aware of what we're doing and what the results have been. If we do choose this option, I've already asked our representative from DNR to write us a short statement so that in that letter we can notify the people that there is no concern about the health of the water during that process. Our second option is...
I got a question on it. If we did that option, could we put that with the water bill to save on postage, or would that not work?
Depending on our time frame here, we do have that option.
I think Mike was shooting for the second week of October. So the bills have already went out.
Yeah.
So it probably... and I just soon get it done as soon as possible.
And there's no interruption of water supply during that?
In that option.
Can we put something in the paper as well about if this is the option that we decide upon? Be sure that we get a write-up. Curtis?
What's the name of the...
Just a minute.
What's the name of the community that they're doing it in now that you referred to?
Shayla.
How about the community access channel, the KSAC?
Yeah, we can do that too.
And when we start flushing hydrants, we'll start at the ones closest to the water tower and work our way out to our dead ends. That way we pull the chlorine throughout the whole community, and that's the best way to do it.
I have a question. If this project is chosen, how long could we see a benefit after it was done and over?
To be real honest with you, DNR will not guarantee anything. They're hoping it will work. If it does not work, then I would say we need to go to the other option. Okay, and Adam can explain that.
The second option they offered was a spot flushing program, where we would isolate particular areas of our water grid, and that we would superchlorinate those areas for a complete flush. Now, one of the concerns about this one is that in that process, while it's quick, about a 3-day process, didn't he explain? It means that the water service for those residents that are inside that portion of the grid would be interrupted during that period of time. In other words, customers would not have water.
You would actually have water, but you could not drink that water.
Well, yeah.
You could still use your restroom and that type of stuff, but the water would not be drinkable.
How about showering?
No.
You can't shower.
Not on the second option. You would not be able to take a shower.
Spot flush.
And that would be just...
Unless you want bleach blonde hair. And
that would be just in that
would just be
affected area.
That's right. We would isolate that area totally for the people that are affected.
Yes.
As far as the drinking, at our home we were not, and I called Jim this morning, the only one I
got a hold of this one. But we were not, I didn't want to bother anyone on the weekend because it was something you couldn't do anything about. But by this morning, we couldn't drink our water. It was impossible. It was the color of this waste cooling, and I kid you not.
And what would that cost us to do that?
Actually, the cost, it just depends on whether we have the right valves in the system. We may have to put a couple more valves in the system.
Same cost, probably.
Well,
Actually,
I
it
would,
could end up being
I would
more
say
expensive.
probably double.
Double
It
cost.
could be double. You would have a better kill of the bacteria, and you would have to do quite a bit of flushing after you have the chlorine, because you'll take it up to 50 parts per million, where the other way we're only taking it up to 1 part per million. So there is a huge difference.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
What would cause our water to be seemingly okay Friday night when we went to bed, and Saturday morning when I woke up to make coffee, I turned it on and it went whoosh, whoosh, and this is when all this, and I'm sure we probably ran 1,000 gallons worth of water, don't you think, Jay? We put the water on and every faucet did everything we knew what to do. We called the plumber, we happened to get a new dishwasher, and he said, be very cautious. We were talking about a refrigerator, and he said, hadn't better. He said, don't put in a refrigerator that, we naturally have one that dispenses ice cubes, and he said, you don't dare.
Now, Mark, do you have a filter?
Yes,
You do,
and
it's
that's
actually-
something else, and I need new filters again now. I mean, I talked to Bob Scheffler this morning, just happened to run into him. Everyone's been very kind to me, and I appreciate all that. But it isn't solving.
Well, that is strange.
I'm just going to guess there's a lot of iron bacteria up in that area, and we're just going to have to see if this is going to...
I never had a problem. Never had any kind of a problem. Lived there until 3-4 years ago, I think. And I think Gary remembers that. When you did the one in front of Jacobson, and that's when our problem began. I mean, it began within a month after you did that at Jacobson, which would be 4 houses south.
Right.
That and over by the country club, in that same area.
When we loop the system.
Which test are we going to get our greatest effects from for that particular problem that we're having? I mean, are we going to get the better results from
Putting more
option 2?
chloride in option 2, aren't they?
Well, the one, there is
Your
also...
second option is probably your best option, but if there's a problem there, chances are we may end up with some problems elsewhere. So I would like to do the first option first to see if that helps the problem, and if it doesn't, then do the isolation.
Are there any other places in town that have the same problem?
There are.
Not
There
to
are
the
some,
extreme.
but not to the extreme.
And that's why I think that should be considered, because there are other places.
And if I may interrupt, I
Sure.
don't want to say too much. But when my problem began, it was not as severe as it is now. I think you're right in saying, and a lady who works for me said, well, you know, Mark, she said, you're not alone now. She said, some of the times it's in my water. And I have a couple other friends who have said the same. So maybe it's something that does begin to seep through. I don't know.
What it's called is, what DNR calls it is, it's called a biofilm, which what has happened is the nitrites that we've had in our water actually connect to the walls of the main, and it actually will start eating away the main. It likes iron bacteria. That's what it feeds on. So until you can get this nitrite bacteria killed, you're going to continue to have the problem. It's going to continue to get worse until you stop the problem. So, and apparently this is just something that they've come across over the last 4 or 5 years that towns have started having this problem. And what it's caused from originally is we have high ammonia in our water. And when you have high ammonia, it burns off the chlorine that you have in your water, so you don't get as an effective kill on your bacteria.